Okay. So, sorry, it took me 40 minutes to get this picture set up and scale, but we are ready to roll. Let's see. I think I'm in side view. I'm in side view. Okay. And then top view. Yep. Back to side view. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit by scrolling my mouse wheel. We're in object mode. We're going to add an object. We're going to go to mesh, and we're going to go with a UV sphere. Okay. And I want to rotate this. Rotate it on the Y, 90 degrees. And we're going to move this puppy down here. We're going to push on control and scroll the wheel up so that it brings us to the right. Push on shift, scroll up a little bit. And just roll the wheel a little bit to. Okay. I don't have the program, I apologize. It used to be standard in Blender, now you have to actually add it on. I need to add it in. There's a program so that when you are working in Blender, it'll actually show the keystrokes. I don't think I'm going to do any commands that's real, just say fancy or anything, so most of this, once I explain it a few times, you should be able to get the gist of this. Now you can either push G, like I can push G, which means grab, and then I can hit Z. You see the blue line, and then I can just move it down with the mouse wheel. And I want to kind of center this thing up, or you can actually just grab, like I can put my little arrow point on the red arrow, and I can move this on the X. Okay, another thing I can do, hit the Z, and it kind of, the only problem is it doesn't really show the whole sphere. You got to kind of guess on it, which is okay. Actually, move it back, so right about there. Okay, now I'm going to scale this again. And I want to get it kind of close to the sizes. Like, that's pretty close. Okay, I'm pushing control, mousing up, pushing shift, mousing up. Okay, now I'm going to blow it up again. Now, you notice as I'm blowing it up, it kind of goes to the right. Just scroll, mouse wheel, push shift, and scroll, mouse wheel down or forward. And then I'm pushing control and scrolling back over. And I'm going to go a little bit more to the right now and a little bit further down. And then as I blow it up, hopefully it stays more towards the center of the screen. Okay. Let's solidify this again by pushing Z. If you push Z, when you're selected on an object, you push Z, and you notice it goes to wireframe where you can see through, or you can solidify it again. So let's move it here. And I actually scaled it just a little bit too small. So that's scale, oops, okay, that's a little too big. And a little bit of this is a little bit of guesswork because I'm actually, I have to kind of determine, you got a fuzzy line here. As you go down, it gets less fuzzy, but I have to kind of set where I'm figuring the bottom of the ship's going to be, and I'm going to go more towards where the color starts to fade into the blur there, so maybe a hair bigger, right about there. Okay, well, Look at that. Okay, now what I want to do at this point is I want to scale on the X. And we're going to actually drag it a little bit like this. And then we're going to Z it in again, and I'm going to move it. So that made it, okay, that made it ever so slightly. It's no longer a globe. It has, I would use the word, kind of like if you stretch a ball out into a football shape. You know, a little bit, but not a lot, not extremely. Again, I think my bottom, if I run along the bottom here, I still think I need to scale this just slightly, right about there. Let's move it. See, and I can move it out, and then I can bring it back up to where it's solid right about there. And I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, but I'm not going to sit here for 30 minutes messing with this. Okay, so now if I hit the 3, oh, nice. Push Control, scroll up, and it'll bring this more to the center. Now let's try it on 1 again. 1, 3, 7 should be, oh yeah, good. 7. It's positioned in a pretty good place for me to deal with this right now. So this is going to be the front of our ship here. Now the other problem that I see, if I actually scroll down, is the shape here it doesn't go this high. So again, this makes this kind of complicated. Let's hit the Z again. We're going to have to scale this down some more. Like that, we need to bring it down. And we need to scale it on the X. Lengthwise again. Now, one of the things that I'm perceiving on this is that the way they have this drawn, especially from the side, since the ship didn't actually exist, and I'd have to dig a camera out to show you. What I do have is I do have a model of the Yamato that I can look at. I can literally hold it a 1/350 scale of the Yamato, and I can kind of see how that's shaped on the Yamato. So I think that's pretty close. Where the white line runs here, and then where the bottom runs here, I might lower the globe just a bit. But the way they have this drawn in, but actually part of what I'm doing wrong here is that this does come out a little bit to the side. So I actually do need to scale this back up. Need to move it up. And I need to move it back a little bit. And that's going to move it a little bit more. Scale it just a little bit. So I kind of reversed what I did. Like I said, this is actually hand drawn, so I'm going to go with that. That is more or less the shape with that. If this and these blend into the sides, so what I'm getting at is at the front here. I'm sorry about blowing into the mic there. Going from the front here, our sides are going to be give or take about there, so we'll blend that in. Okay, what I want to do is I want to go back to the Z, and we're going to go to edit mode. Edit. And I'm going to blow this up a little bit. Yeah, it's actually too much. Yeah, I can work with that. I'm going down it a little bit though. Okay. So what I want to do, since we're going to put a mirror modifier on this later, is I'm going to push Z. We're going to deselect everything. And I want to make a box. And we're going to hit every single point except for we do not want to hit that middle point. Like that. We want to leave that middle dot. And push delete. Vertices. Okay, so as you notice, it gave us a half. It gave us a half of our, give or take, what do you want to call it, football shape. Okay. So what we're actually looking at, if you look from the top, is we're going down the center line and we're missing half of this. Okay. We hit the Z again. We can make a box. And we're going to get rid of this part right here. Delete. Vertices. So now we have basically a quarter. Okay. Front. Front. Side. Move that back a little bit. Top. Top's in a good place. Side's in a good place. Front's in a good place. Okay. So what I want to do is, let's go to the side here. And I can use the other one that I have for reference also. Because there's basically one of two things I can do here. I could actually start building the bow as a separate object. Like, in other words, I could bring another shape in, and I could actually run this part of the bow down here into this. And something I noticed, and I can also do this. Is kind of neat because I could do this in object mode, but I could also select this whole thing. And this is in edit mode, and I can drag this up just a little bit because I'm kind of, and it actually somewhat matched the shape a little better there. Again, so let's deselect that. So I can either work from this sphere, this globe, this quarter globe, basically, to start making this hull shape, or I can make another object, and I can make this in a parent and the other one a child, or I can join them together to make them one object, kind of a thing. And there's advantages and disadvantages to both of these techniques depending on how you look at it. If you actually can take an object and extrude it into a whole object, it can be advantageous. But sometimes it's advantageous there's more vertices, but if you make another object and bring it into it. Sometimes it's simpler. Sometimes it's hard to model stretching one piece into several. Let's see. Let's go to 1. Let's solidify this. Let's zoom in. And let's take this vertice right here, which is dead center. And since I'm doing a mirror modifier on this ship hull, what I don't want to do is run into, I need a center line. So if this is going to be the center line of the ship, what we can do, I got this in vertice. I don't know if you've done it. down here in edit mode, you have vertices and you have lines and you have faces. So we want to be in vertice. And we want to click on that very top vertice, and then I'm going to push the E, which means extrude, and then I'm going to push the Z. I'm going to bring this up. And I think I want to bring it up to the second line here. And then I'm going to pull it this way. And the give or take, I'm going to balance it out with the ship line there. And if you look from the front, I'll show you what I'm doing here. Okay, deselect that. So I actually just made one line with a vertice. Okay. And from the one you can see that that's running up my hull. And I could, depending on the shape, I might have to put loop cuts in here. But the less loop cuts and lines, which would mean less vertices, but sometimes the shapes are complicated enough where you just end up having to add some. And I could show you, where's my alternate ships? Alternate ship book. I'll show you, I think I have it in here. I have pictures of lines. Maybe it's not in here. I thought it was in here. Now I'm wondering where I saved that at. I was pretty sure I have pictures from War Thunder and I have pictures from World of Warships in here. I was pretty sure. Wonder if I got in Utah. Okay, well, anyways, I had basically, I'll run across it and put it in another video. I had, shut that off, let's go back into Blender. I had line drawings of one of the newer ships from World of Warships, and it actually showed kind of their geometry and how they had simplified it down into triangles and stuff. And it's pretty amazing to me because I think they're using subsurface modifiers that they, would reduce the poly count quite a bit by using simpler shapes and not having too many of them. Okay, so I want to shape this hull, and since I don't have a front reference, I'm kind of just using the sides and the tops and then using educated guess. What I want to do is I want to push shift and right click this vertice and this vertice and this one and this one, and then I'm going to push delete the vertices. Okay. Now what I want to do here is I want to click this. Yeah. I want to click this, and I want to click this, and I want to push the F, which actually means face, but it will connect the two lines. It'll join them. Push A. Now this is a triangle. And if you notice, these are all triangles down here, and the rest are quads. And from what I've been told, rule of thumb is you want to try to model everything in quads and not triangles, and or n-gons, which n-gons are something that has 5 or more vertices. But wherever you have 3 vertices, you have a triangle. I'm not as afraid of modeling of triangles as they are, but I can see how when you UV map stuff, triangles could possibly be a problem. But on this part of the actual model, it's going to be one color. There's not really something where I'm going to have details in here, so I don't really think it's a problem. Now, if we'll go to lines right quick. We'll select that line. If you notice, I selected the lines down here. We'll hold Shift, and you can do this with anywhere where you have a triangle. You can use 2 lines. But to be thorough, I'll hit 3, push F again, and then deselect, and you see how it filled that in. Okay, we're going to go back to vertices. We're going to select that dot. I'm going to go back to the 1. Okay, now keep in mind what's going on here. We're going to extrude on the Z. We're going to go back up to this, give or take about the second line again. And then we're going to move this back this way. I'm going to run it about parallel for the time being, and we're going to take a little look at it. Now what's going on here is, that would be the very front of our ship. Now the problem with this now is that it's going to make this it's going to make it razor sharp. And I'm not sure I want it razor sharp. So I actually think I messed up here a little bit. I think the better thing to do would be, let's delete this. Let's go back down here. Let's go into lines. Let's delete this line. The edge. Let's go back into vertices. I think this is what I did on the other one. I actually picked this one also. Let's extrude to the Z. Let's bring it up. Let's go from the 1. It looks the same. Let's move this back. And let's more or less match that line. And it actually, it's kind of funny. It's not going to match that line exactly because it's not exactly parallel. It's just a little bit lower. So let's bring that there. Let's go back to, go to 7. Okay, now what's interesting is you kind of can't see it, but there's the line from here to here. Actually, we went just a hair too far. It's more parallel. Okay. See, now this is nice because we can angle this. Let's deselect. Let's hit A. Let's go to faces. And what I was saying, if you right click on that line and then we hold shift, right click on that line, let's put F in there, it makes it a face, and that's actually going to add, well, it is actually, it's not adding, it just adds this line in this face. Let's click A. So that's like we peeled some sheet metal up there. That's going to be the bow of our ship to start with. And I think once we smooth this out, we can always move, if we had to, we could always move this vertice. Go back to vertice. I'll blow this up a little bit so I can point out what I'm talking about here. We could always move this vertice up this line, which, amongst other things, or we could add a vertice. We could actually add a vertice and make a smaller triangle there. We wouldn't have to make such a huge triangle, which might be, instead of subdividing, but what that does is it also turns this square into an n-gon. And like I said, if you can avoid them, you should avoid n-gons. If you can avoid the n-gons, it's better to make a triangle than have n-gons. But sometimes by making a triangle, if you make it in the wrong place, it ends up making one of these squares in n-gons. Like I said, the reasons that the n-gons and the triangles don't scare me too much. It depends on where it is in the model. I don't think it would be a problem here because it's just going to be, this is going to be kind of a maroonish red because it's going to be the bottom of the hull color. So at the moment, I'm going to leave that where it is. And then we're going to delete this next row. Delete vertices. Okay. Now, we're going to go back to this problem here with the triangle. We're going to go sideways so that we can see where we're going with this. Extrude to the Z. Come up to your second line here, give or take. And I'll show you a scaling trick later how once I get done with this, we're going to basically we're going to box this in, and we can scale it on Z to the 0, and it'll level those things. That's why I'm not worried about being super precise, just, near the line for now. Okay, and now let's look at this at an angle and see what we got going on here. Because what we want to do is we might have to also come to the 3. What we might want to do is we might want to taper that in a little bit. And, okay. And we could also taper this a little bit. And what that's going to end up doing is I shouldn't say time over distance, but length over distance, we're going to end up kind of like running this out this way, and we're going to end up having more or less this blend out into this, hopefully real smoothly, and still keep our globe shape for the most part, because that's what it kind of looks like on the Yamato. In fact, I actually might, like I said, it's kind of an artist interpretation, artist choice. I think that on the Yamato, the front end of this ball is a little bigger, but I don't want to totally change the dynamics of this ship. I want it to be as close as possible. Okay, so let's come back at this angle. Let's hit the A to deselect. Okay. And what we can do here is we could come to the lines. Oh, goodness gracious, I didn't realize it was at 28 minutes. Okay, I'm going to fill this face in. Shift line, we'll make an F there. Okay, and then select that line or one of the other two. And like I said, you can do it with 3. Sometimes I just do it with 2. Put a face in it. Okay. Deselect. And I'm right at 30 minutes. So, and one thing I haven't done and that I need to do, and you probably see me do this a little more often, is I need to come up here to File, and I need to go Save As. And I got it, B165 Ishikara, Japan Battle Cruiser Blend. I'm going to save that as my first, what I call model save. Okay, and this is where I'm going to pick up on the next video. So we'll see you there. Actually,